What up, baby yams? It's your sweet boy, Lovely Nudes here. So tasteful, so classy. Can you believe it? If you haven't already, do me a favor and head over to the community tab on the channel and cast your vote for whether or not the old Yammie Enterprises should keep the green screen or go back to voiceovers. We've been sticking to voiceover because you guys overwhelmingly voted to not see my face, which hurts my soul a little, but I understand. The dulcet tones of my wonderful voice is good enough for you. Will it hurt my feelings if you vote that you don't want to see this handsome mug anymore? Sure. But it's not about me, is it? No, this channel is about you. So get over there and cast your vote before the polls close. Either way, I'm still going to be rocking my short shorts and they are only going to get shorter. If you don't want to see all this manscaping, well, that's your loss, broskies. Either way, let's take a look at a few more of the learning curves you young squidlets face when you first start riding. Several of these have to do with proper clutch techniques, but don't worry, it takes some practice to get the hang of proper clutch and throttle use, but stick with it. You'll get it. Papa Yam believes in you. Now before we begin, remember to subscribe, Turbo Busa or die. I'm giving away bikes and I sure do appreciate likes. Okay, let's go. Up first, we are going to look at one of the most embarrassing things that can happen when you're riding. When you're a new rider, you have at least a little bit of an excuse. For those of us who have been riding for a while, big oof. It's a bit painful when it happens. So what's acceptable when you're learning to ride, but embarrassing enough to put a brown bag over your head if it happens while you've been riding for a while and have some experience under your belt? Well, boys and girls, if you guessed stalling, you'd be right. Stalling your bike is pretty common when you first start riding. There's a careful balance that riders have to find between increasing the throttle and letting the clutch out to get a bike moving. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, I did a video covering this topic called What Does It Feel Like to Ride for the First Time? Go and check that out if you haven't seen it yet and are a new rider or are looking to become one in the future. If you've ever learned to drive a standard, then you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. That first couple of times you try to go from a dead stop to moving in first gear can be pretty tricky, especially if you've never driven a stick before or you aren't familiar with that type of gearbox. You'll get a lot of practice using the clutch on your bike in your motorcycle safety course, and empty parking lots are a great place to practice stopping and starting. If you're nervous about stalling out when you're on the road, then hit an empty parking lot and keep in mind that your clutch and throttle balance can become muscle memory. So once you get used to your bike, you won't even have to think about it. One of the best common sense things I picked up in my own motorcycle safety course is about the mechanics of the clutch. If you get nervous, just remember that when you pull in the clutch in, you suspend the power going to the rear wheel. When you start to release the clutch, you're sending power back to the rear wheel, and anytime you start increasing power, you want to build the acceleration, not try to get from 0 to Turbo Busa instantly. I'm pretty sure that's better than 0 to 100 real quick. 0 to Turbo Busa real quick. That should be a thing. And also, as a fact of life, even the most experienced riders stall from time to time. It becomes very rare, but it does indeed happen. Particularly if you are riding a new motorcycle and you're at a traffic light and there's a cute girl in a car next to you and all of a sudden you immediately forget all of your motorcycle training and you stall your bike, then you accidentally wheelie trying to take off quickly and then you bog it and then you just end up looking super dumb. This will happen. Plan on it. Number 2. Tailgating. Just don't do this. You shouldn't do it in a car, but let's be honest, sometimes it happens. That's your prerogative. But if you're tailgating on a motorcycle and the car in front of you slams on their brakes, guess what? You're flipping into the back of that truck or the hood on the car. When you're on a 400-pound motorcycle, any car becomes an immovable object. It is possible to perform hard brakes safely on a motorcycle, but it should really be reserved for emergency situations. Many times a hard brake ends up with a rear tire coming up off the ground, especially if you're an inexperienced rider. So it's just better to make sure there's plenty of space between you and the cars around you in the event that you have to make a sudden stop or maneuver quickly. And you might think it looks cool to stoppy, but if you're not familiar with that feeling, you're gonna scare yourself, especially in a situation where you're not planning on it. If you took driver's education classes, and you probably did, then you should know that you have to keep a car length or two between you and the traffic around you. Same goes for riding motorcycles. Now, this might not be a rider mistake per se, but a common mistake I see among guys is leaving your pubes all scraggly. What? Where's Yammie going with this? Well, those among you who already know, today's video is supported by the good people at Manscaped. Manscaped supports my degeneracy with hentai bikes and ridiculous reads of their products, so they're good people. In case you don't know, 8 in 10 partners prefer a trim downstairs. You don't have to look baby smooth down there, that's a little weird, but keeping it trimmed is going to help your situation out for several reasons, particularly in the size department. For a limited time, use the code YAM20 at checkout to get 20% and free shipping and annihilate those screaming pubes with the link in the description below. Seriously, come on guys, any company willing to support a channel who does so many weird things as much as I do deserves your attention. So check the link in the description below, use the code YAM20 and get 20% off and free shipping, and hit up Manscaped. All right, back into it. For this next one, let's go back to stalling for a minute. There's a lot of information out there on downshifting and engine braking, what you should and shouldn't do, what's bad for your clutch, what's worse for your brakes, etc. I've got my own thoughts on engine braking, and I'll probably make a separate video on the pros and cons of that, but here's the nitty-gritty on your next mistake. Not downshifting at stops. We all know the drill. When it's time to come to a prepared stop, you brake, clutch, downshift, and continue braking. It's important that you're in first gear when you come to a prepared stop for a couple of reasons. The first being that if you try to accelerate, say, in third gear from a complete stop, you're probably going to end up stalling the bike, which, aside from being embarrassing, is actually a pretty big safety concern if you're a heavily trafficked area. It's easy to go into autopilot when you're behind the wheel in a car, and if you're stalled out and trying to find neutral and get your bike started and the person behind you sees a green and hits the gas, it ain't going to be pretty, my friends. Part of progressing as a motorcycle rider is practicing safe riding, and a big factor of safe riding is riding defensively. I will sing about riding invisibly all day long if it means my baby yams are staying safe out there, even though I probably mention it that at least once a week. All right, enough with the mushy stuff. Moving on. Let's talk about corner speed, or as us seasoned professionals call it, cornering. Let us take a moment to honor our Lord and Savior, Sir Valentino Rossi. Is he a sir? Did the Pope knight him? Can the Pope even do that? I don't know, who cares? And don't you dare come at me sideways with that, but Marquez, Rossi had his day in the sun. Yammie, why are you like this? Rossi is the GOAT. Change my mind. Cornering is one of those topics that really deserves its own video, and there's plenty of good information out there, but I'm gonna give you my basic rundown of it. When it comes to riding motorcycles, cornering is life. It is all the things, and to start cornering really well, there are a lot of things you have to think about. You gotta look through your corner in advance, plan your line, how you're positioned on the motorcycle, your throttle, shifting, braking, etc. There's a lot of variables at play, and a lot of new riders get nervous about cornering, but it's a lot like countersteering. Once you get the hang of it and stop overthinking it, you're gonna be just fine. Now, you don't have to drag a knee or be at the front of a group ride to successfully corner. The general rule of thumb is to line yourself up so you can enter the turn or curve on the outside, then, looking where you want to go, traverse through the inside and exit on the outside. Using that outside, inside, outside pattern while cornering helps you look farther through the turn, which helps you corner faster, and it also helps to see possible mayhem before you hit it. Now, when it comes to street riding, there's a few advanced techniques like late apexing and that kind of thing that helps you kind of mitigate decreasing radius turns. We might get into that in another video, but let's keep this one kind of general and standard for you guys. The one thing you really don't want to do while cornering is to hit the brakes. When you're leaned over in a corner, hitting the brakes is going to make your bike want to stand up immediately, or depending on how hard you hit the brakes, you're just going to wash out the front end and go down. Do not stab your front brakes mid-turn. That is bad. Trying to drive straight in a curve, you do the math. That's why it's important to enter your turns at a low enough speed so you don't need to hit the brakes. Something that's always been told to me is slow in, fast out for street riding. Applying smooth and consistent throttle through your corner, good. Braking while cornering, bad. Unless it's trail braking, then it's rad, but that's an advanced technique and I'm not going to recommend beginners try that until they're very comfortable with the standard way to navigate a turn. And now that we've navigated our way through the bulk of this list, it's time to look at the final beginner rider error that a bunch of people are making. Acting like riding is the same as driving. It is not. Riding a motorcycle requires your complete focus. It is a full body experience, kind of like a full body massage. It certainly makes me feel that way. There is no autopilot. There is no mental downtime. You are consistently on alert and on the lookout for potential dangerous situations, and sometimes those situations can mean life or death for you. That's not to scare you away from the freedom of two wheels, but it's important for motorcyclists to respect the fact that they are not encased in a metal box. Respect other people on the road and yourself. Maintain safe distances between you and the other cars around you, ride defensively, take a safety course, and pay attention. Your reaction time on a motorcycle versus a car is going to be totally different. Plan for it. It just might save your life. And on that note, this Debbie Downer is signing off. You know what to do. Click subscribe, ring the bell, check out the link in the description box below to find out all about the two motorcycles I'm giving away. Seriously, I just fitted this new FZ07 with the full Leo Vinci system and it sounds absolutely unreal. This thing is so mean. We're announcing the winner of the Hentai Hornet shortly too, so you're going to want to make sure you're tuned in for that. Check out the link in the description below and get started. Also, be sure to check out Manscaped. They support the crazy things I do and make a wonderful shaver for your downstairs. Seriously, it's got a ceramic blade. It's never nicked or cut me. YAM20 at checkout gets you 20% off. And of course, go vote in the community tab of the channel and let me know if you want to keep seeing this glorious mug of mine, or if you'd rather go back to the way things were when you just had the smooth, melodic voice of an angel crooning over your speakers about exhaust systems and becoming a better rider. A little overdone there, but that's okay. I'll catch you guys next time. See you later. Fact: no one actually knows who built the Taj Mahal. The names of the architects, masons, and designers that have been historically passed down have all been proven to be latter-day inventions, and there is no discernible evidence to indicate who the real creators were. Goodbye.